What's going on, YouTube? Back with another video, and I'm really excited for this one because I think there's going to be a lot of valuable information in here that's going to help you grow your net worth as well. And as you've seen from the title of this video, it's about how I was able to double my net worth in 2020, the year of the pandemic. So let's hop on over to the spreadsheet and get right into the nitty-gritty. All right, so if we're looking over here, we've got it all broken out as far back as 21 years old. When in 2019. Before that, I didn't keep track of my net worth, but we can see the different investment accounts that I had. For the sake of this, though, we're just comparing, what did I do in 2020 to 2021. So the way that this works and that I've broken it out is in the 2020 column or in the year column, this net worth down here in green, that's my net worth at the beginning of 2020. So that means on January 1st, 2020, that is what my net worth was. And then on January 1st, 2021, that is what my net worth was. So let's compare the two and see what's going on. At the beginning of 2020, I had a lot more cash at hand than I did in 2021. Significantly more. I mean, that decreased a lot. And I'll explain that again. We're just going to look at the differences here first. My mutual fund account, which is basically just stocks, it's just in an index fund, that went from 51,000 to 58, so a nice solid little gain. But again, it was a crazy year for stocks, and that really wasn't, this little $7,000 gain, that's not going to double my net worth. And I'll explain again how all these accounts even came to be. 401k with my job, that one grew because obviously I just started that job in 2020, so I was very small then. Life insurance, I've got a whole life insurance policy which actually builds a cash value, and that's the part that I count as an asset because I can literally take out that cash value and get basically a free loan from it and use that to go and do whatever. If I wanted to just spend that money, go buy stocks, go buy real estate, I could. Then I actually started investing in individual stocks in 2021, also bought some real estate, etc. But let's look at my income before I get into more on those numbers. My income, even though it looks like, oh man, I doubled my income, it's really the same amount. The reason why this one's $24,000 is because I started my job basically in June, or was it July last year? I can't exactly remember. But basically I started it in the middle of the year last year. So even though I was making the same salary amount, I only made $24,000 for that year because I didn't work the full year. So in 2021, I just worked the full year, and that's why it looks so much bigger. But it's not like my income went up that year. It stayed the same. So how did I grow this? Let's look at this cash portion here first. Why did this go down? Well, throughout 2020, right, I was saving up my money. I got this job. I was making the $24,000 a year. I was renting with some roommates, and so my rent was very low. I was only paying like $650 a month, and that included rent and utilities. At least for me in my area, that's pretty low. If you're gonna go rent a one bedroom by yourself, you're looking at like $1,400, and you're not even talking utilities. So I was able to keep my expenses very low like that and just pile away this cash. And that's for my mutual fund. This is something that before I was 18, I would always go to my dad and say, hey, look, I've saved up, ever since I was like 12, $1,000. What do I do with it? And I couldn't invest because I was under 18, so I'd give it to him and he would just put it away for me. Also any birthday money, Christmas money, and also when I started paying for my car, I actually made all my car payments to my dad, and then little did I know that he was just putting that money away for me and he was paying for the car payments directly, but I had no idea. I thought I was paying for my car on my own. And then when I turned 18, then he gave me the account. So basically it was all money that I put into it as I was growing up. And that account grew about $7,000 over the course of 2020. So it's really just a mutual fund. It's targeted for high growth. And it's just kind of tracking your indexes, like your S&P 500, your major indexes, which did about 16% in 2020. But if I was just invested in that, that wouldn't have doubled my net worth. My 401k, again, I started putting some money into my Roth 401k and when I first started my job in 2019, I believe. I'm getting confused when I got hired. Yep, 2019, because this is at the beginning of 2020. So I got hired at the beginning, in the middle of 2019, right? June 2019. And so I'm storing away a lot of that cash. I started putting some in my Roth, but I realized very quickly that I wanted to buy real estate. And if I kept doing that, I didn't have enough money to put money in my Roth, pay for my life insurance, and save money for real estate. So I stopped putting money in my Roth, and that's why it stopped at $314. And that's why this cash grew to so much, because I was putting money in there so that I could buy real estate. Then the difference in 2021 is I already had bought my real estate by this time, my house. So I started contributing again to the 401k, and that's why that grew. But I again actually stopped contributing to my 401k. And we'll get into that, why I stopped in a minute. Life insurance, I have to pay $508 every single month for this policy, and it starts off very slow growing. As we can see, my cash value at the beginning of 2020 was only $200, and then that grew to $1139 at the beginning of 2021, and it's going to keep on growing like that each year, getting bigger and bigger, to about probably when you hit about 8 years of having the policy. I've only had it for 3. Once you hit 8 years, that's when you start to break even, and you'll have as much cash value as to what you've paid in premiums. And then after about that 8-year mark, then you start to actually have more in cash value than you actually paid and put into the policy. Then stocks. I didn't invest in individual stocks. This is me picking stocks like Apple, Tesla, Facebook, whatever. I'm just naming some of the popular stocks out there. Me just picking individual stocks, doing the research, figuring out what I want to invest in. And that account, I'll put up some screenshots, actually more than doubled. Did very well this year. I don't expect to do that kind of returns every single year. That was a big contributing factor. It really helped me grow my wealth. And that is part of the reason as to why I stopped putting money in my 401k up here towards the end of 2020. Because I realized I did some math, I did some compound interest calculators, and realized, look, my return with the stocks here is so much greater that I'd rather put it in the stocks. And plus, this money's not tied up till I'm 65. If I see a better return somewhere else, if real estate prices go down and I want to take this money out of stocks and go buy real estate or some other investment opportunity, I can. In the 401k, it's sort of trapped. And since my goal is to be able to retire early, this 401k really does me no good because I can't touch it till I'm 65. All right, then real estate. I made my real estate purchase. I bought the place for $277,000. Now, a house down the street from me just sold for $350,000. It was not totally done up. It wasn't a beautiful remodel. It was just a homeowner who kept good care of their house. So they didn't have all the most updated features. Like, for example, 3 out of the 4 bedrooms are updated, but 1 still wasn't. 1 of the bathrooms were updated, but 1 wasn't. So it's just a clean, well-kept house. So what I'm saying is basically the highest point is probably higher, but I always like to be conservative with my estimates. And the reason why I gave myself $340 and not $350 as the value of this house is because the house is not completely done yet. I still have to probably put in another $5,000 worth of work into the house to replace the countertop in the kitchen, replace the sink, and to change out the outlets and a couple other small things of little painting the deck outside, a couple other small things, and then I would give it $350. So that's why I discounted $10,000 off what it's worth right now. Then other. This is actually an HSA account. So for those of you who don't know what an HSA account is, it's a health savings account where there's 2 types of medical plans that you can get out there. You can get a regular standard medical plan, which is generally going to be a higher premium. Let's just go with a generic example here. So you've got your regular medical plan where you're paying $100 a month. And when you go to the doctor's office and you have a copay, maybe it's only $20 for that copay. Now with the health savings account, it's generally, you can only get these with a high deductible plan, meaning when I pay my monthly amount, I don't pay $100 for my premium every single month for my medical. Maybe I only pay $10 a month. But when I go to the doctor, my copay is not $20. My copay is like $100. So a high deductible plan is good for someone who's young and healthy, who probably doesn't go to the doctor that often. And because you have this high deductible plan that, every time I do need a prescription or I do need to go to the doctor's office, I'm basically paying like full price. I'm paying a lot of money out of pocket. They give you a health savings account attached to it, which allows you to take money out of your paycheck before taxes, so before they've taken any taxes out of it, and put it into this account. And then you can pay for your medical expenses without being taxed again. So no taxes come out of this. But the other cool thing is, once you have over $1,000 in your health savings account, you can actually take any excess over that $1,000 and invest that money into the stock market, just like you would with the 401k plan. And that money will then grow. And then you can also use that money that's grown to pay for any medical expenses tax-free. None of this gets taxed. Even the money that grew from your investments, none of that gets taxed. So what happens, though, you might be wondering, well, what if I never use all of the money in my account? Well, once you turn 65, if you have anything left over in this health savings account, you can actually just then use it on regular expenses. You will get taxed on it then. It'll be just like a 401k, but it's just basically like another 401k at that point. So this is going to help me pay for, if I were to retire early, all of my medical expenses. And keep them very low. So because medical is very expensive. So if you're going to retire early, you need to keep into account how you plan to pay for medical. And so this health savings account compounded over time is going to grow and be huge. That's going to cover all my medical expenses. And the way it works, though, of how you got to keep it growing is, right, say I go to the doctor and I'm putting $2,000 every single year into this health savings account. If I go to the doctor and I have maybe $100 that I need to pay for the visit, instead of taking money out of my health savings account to pay for it, I just pay for that out of pocket. So essentially at first, I'm kind of like paying double, right? I already put $100 in the health savings account that I could have used to pay for that doctor visit, but I'm just gonna say, no, leave that in there. I'll pay for it out of pocket. And what I can do is I can end up reimbursing myself, right? So let's say in 10 years, I wanna take my money out of my health savings account. Say I've put 20 grand into my health savings account, but because I've been investing that 20 grand, maybe say it grew to 30 grand. I'm just trying to keep things simple here and using round numbers. Say it grew to 30, but say I also, throughout that whole time when I'm putting 2 grand into my health savings account every year, say I also have the equivalent of $2,000 worth of expenses for medical and for doctor visits. Well, in 10 years, I can just give them the receipts and say, all right, look, I'm reimbursing myself this 20 grand that I spent the past 10 years. And I literally can take 20 grand out of that health savings account, put it back in my pocket. And because I let it grow that time, now I still have an additional $10,000 in that account that I never even put into that account. It's like free $10,000 because I was patient and able to wait and let this thing grow. All right, so my total assets, if we add all of these up, come out to $19,066. Now let's look at my liabilities. What debts do I have? On credit cards, I've got 14, 35.96. Now, this isn't my bad debt. I pay my credit cards off in full every single month. This is just basically what I spend in a month just for a living, and so it just gets accumulated over the course of the month, and then at the end of the month, it's all paid off, and then it just comes back up. So this is just sort of like, I don't put anything on my debit card. I don't pay anything in cash because I like to, 1, get my 1% cash back, and 2, I like to keep my credit score high. Mortgage. I owe $266,500 on my mortgage. So as you can see, even though I just bought this house and I only put 3% down on it, I've got a lot of equity in this house. And you can see my other videos on how I was able to get such a good deal and build so much wealth through this purchase. Then over here, $3,500. I didn't have all the money at first that I needed. I had most of it, but I didn't have all that I needed in order to completely fix up the property to get it livable and move-in ready. So I had to borrow some money from my mom, and I still owe her $3,500 back. So we're including that in here. And all of those debts, that's it. No car payment, I paid my car off. All of that totaled is $271,000 and a little bit extra. which leaves me with a net worth of $147,628. So that's a little bit more than doubling my net worth. Let's see exactly what that is. 2.12. Can I put that in a percentage? 213%. I think I'm doing that wrong. I think it's 113%. I don't think it's 200. Anyways, so yeah, a little bit over doubling my net worth. Now let's talk about what I'm planning to do going forward in 2021 and what I'm going to do the same and what I'm going to do different. Let's get into that. Cash. I am probably still going to keep my cash low. Now, my plan is to buy another real estate place. So you might be saying, why aren't you putting a lot of money in cash again like you did back in 2019 so that you could use that to buy a place in 2020? Why wouldn't you put your money there? Because I've learned this year by investing in individual stocks that it grows in stocks, right? And if I have a down year, okay, then I might just be delayed a little bit, but I'm willing to take that risk because I know in the long run, this is going to make me so much more money than just leaving it in cash. Then I can just sell those stocks and take that money to put that into real estate. Because if we remember here, I put up the screenshots. This 7,363, and I think when I put up the screenshots, it's actually more. It's like 8,000 because I put a little bit more into the account and it's growing more. Out of that though, I've only put like $3,500 into there. So imagine if I would have just saved that $3,500. I would just have $3,500, but because I put it into stocks, I now have $8,000. So it helps me actually be able to buy real estate a little bit sooner and faster. Mutual fund, leaving this alone, not touching it. So if it's a good year and stocks go up and all, maybe that'll go up another 8%, 10% or something. 401k, not touching this. That's gonna stay at $38.93 or just go up with whatever the market goes up. So maybe that'll be like $4,000 at the end of the year, but I'm not putting any more money into the 401k. And I probably won't ever as of right now. That's not my plan. Life insurance, continuing to make my $500 a month payment, which is killing me, but hopefully that will grow more and that'll be maybe around $3,000, $4,000 next year. We'll see. Stocks, I'm going to continue to put more money into stocks. So, sorry. Here's my plan with the stocks. This is probably going to be about $25,000 to $30,000 by the beginning of 2022. And how I plan to get it there is, let's go. I'm going to have to skip ahead. Follow with me. Right, this real estate is probably going to go up about 4%. Remember, it's really $350. I'll have this whole place fixed up by then. I'll put all the money into it that I need to. So it'll be $350 plus another 3-4% appreciation. So that should be $360 if the market keeps going up. And that's a much more modest appreciation this year. Last year, prices went up like 15%. I'm only saying 3%, which would put me at $360. And actually, there's a flip going on right across the street. And so once that one sells, I can then see, okay, really, what is the top of my market? So maybe if they sell for $380, that's going to probably bump me up and put me at like $365, $370 or something. So we'll see. This one could really appreciate big and help me out a lot. HSA, I'm going to put another $2,000 into there, and that's also going to grow as well. So if we've got 27, 23 in there now, I put another $2,000 in, you're talking $4,700. Plus it's growing and investing over time. Maybe that's about $5,000, so that's almost doubled. And yeah, I was going to say how these stocks are going to get to $25,000 to $30,000. So this mortgage payment, right? You pay every single month, principal gets paid down. This is still going to be $266,500. And that's because I took mortgage forbearance, and and the reason why I took mortgage forbearance is because my company is not going to, every single year they do an annual 1% raise just to keep up with inflation. And so they're not going to be doing that in 2022. Now, if I get promoted, I'll still get a raise, but just general keeping up with inflation, they're not doing that. And that's because of COVID. So hardship for COVID, I'm taking my mortgage forbearance. I don't know, more risk can happen in the future too. I just want to be prepared. So I'm not making any payments. And so this is going to stay at $266,500. So the only way I'm going to make any money on my real estate or that growing my wealth is by appreciation for this next year, for 2021. But what am I doing with those mortgage payments? I am, like you probably have already guessed, putting them into stocks. Yes, so I'm taking all that. My mortgage payments are $1,587 a month. I'm taking out $294 of that and putting that aside for taxes and insurance because I still have to pay those. That's not on forbearance, but everything else is going into the stock market, which is actually, right, this is going to help me grow and get enough money to actually go and buy real estate much, much sooner. So, because I'll have probably 25 to 30,000 in here, right? Plus, I'm going to say one other thing in a minute that's going to help me. But yeah, this will probably give me enough money to go and buy another place. Credit cards, I imagine that to be about the same. I don't imagine my expenses to go up much more. It generally hovers in between the $1,400 to $2,500 range. I just got it at a low snapshot this year when I took that, did these numbers. Again, we said this is going to be the same. This should be paid off, so that should be zero. I should have paid my mom off by then. And so really my debts are going to be about the same, just a little bit less because I'll have paid my mom off. My assets, like we saw, this is going to be $5,000. Let's go ahead and just put some numbers in here just to see. I don't think I'll be able to double my net worth again next year, but let's just see. Let's be generous here. Just because I don't think I'll be able to double my net worth, but let's see, with even being with generous numbers, right? Can I double my net worth? Life insurance, say that's maybe at $3,000. That's at 4 because I'm not putting any money in there. Mutual fund, I don't know, 63. And cash, again, that's probably just going to stay the same because I'm not putting money in cash. Let's see what this gets us. 475. Yeah, there's no way I'm going to be able to double my net worth unless I do this one other one that I'm about to tell you guys about. Let's just copy it like that. Oh, did not like that. Maybe I didn't put some. Alrighty. Because I would need to get almost $150,000. Like this number's gonna have to be like 290 for me to have doubled my net worth, and I don't think it will be. No, I'll at least break the 200 mark if things go well. But yeah, the only way, what I'm also trying to do is, so I've got my main 9-to-5 job, but as you've probably seen from a lot of my videos, I am doing real estate on the side, and real estate is, I'm really trying to make that my main hustle, and treating that like a full-time job right now, even though I'm doing another full-time job as well. So I'm doing a lot of hours a week, and so my goal is to increase my income. So maybe, I don't know how well it'll do. Real estate's a long-term game, putting in a lot of the work. So maybe I'll see the results this year, or maybe I won't see these results until 2022. So there's a potential that my income can go up. Instead of just being this 49,000, maybe it'll end up being 80 grand or something. I don't know. It's really going to be pretty variable. And if I make this extra money, well, that extra money I can then put into stocks even more, and that's going to probably help me grow my net worth. And that's the only other option of how I can grow my wealth and possibly double it again. So that's what I'm doing differently this year, right? Let's go, just a little quick recap. Things that I'm doing the same compared to 2021 that I'm doing differently. Not putting cash, not storing up cash, so doing that the same. Mutual fund, leaving it be. That's staying the same. 401k, not investing in my 401k this year. So that's different. That I did in 2020. Life insurance, same, not touching that. Stocks, doing more of stocks, doing a lot more. Real estate, that I'm just taking my mortgage forbearance. So that's on a pause for a year. So probably not buying any real estate this year. That's going to be different. And life and health savings account, investing in that again, that should double. So that's staying the same. And everything else should basically be about the same. So my goal, my focus for this year is invest more into stocks and try to increase my income. I don't think returns are going to be as high this year, but you never know. It's better to be in the market than it is to be out of the market. So if you guys want to stay tuned, if you guys have more questions about real estate and investing and how you can get started, check out some of my other videos on this channel. And until next time, see ya.